Hello, Aubrey. How's everything going today?
I'm great, Lindsay. How are you?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I have a question for you to start off today.
Okay.
So, would you ever call a friend clueless?
Ooh, that feels really mean. If I were to call someone clueless, I think I would never say it to their face. And if I
Right.
said it, maybe I would say it about a child, but that still feels really
Oh,
mean. What about you, Lindsay?
yeah. Oh, it feels mean about a kid because they just don't know
Almost
yet,
even
right?
worse. They
Getting
just
to
don't
know it's
realize.
worse. It's worse. Yeah, I wouldn't say that to a friend unless we were really close and it was like time for honesty, right? Like they were doing
Mm,
something really bad to themselves or someone else. Maybe at the extreme, I might say it, but generally, no. I would avoid
yeah.
saying this to someone's face.
Oh, this was interesting. It came up recently in a class that I had with a student where they called a friend clueless and ignorant, and they
Oh,
clearly
no.
didn't mean to imply any negativity or criticism. They just meant that their friend was unaware about something. And
Ah,
so I let them know, like, okay, there's some implied judgment and criticism here that I don't think you intend. We sort of talked about it, made sure, and she was sort of horrified that she'd been using these
interesting.
words to describe people without realizing that it comes off as kind of mean.
Oh, I'm so glad that you had that conversation with our student.
Yeah.
We do have lots of opportunities once you're in our courses, guys, to speak now. We've added open conversation club, fluency parties, ways you can meet with us and get that feedback, which if that hadn't happened, it could have gone on. And it is pretty offensive when you call someone ignorant and clueless, right?
Yes. You could risk really hurting a connection if you call someone clueless or ignorant because they do have a negative connotation. And if you
Yeah.
don't mean that, right, you could hurt someone's feelings without even realizing it. So this is important too. We're going to dive into this vocabulary, discuss, what is this implied meaning here and when is it appropriate to use it?
Yeah. I mean, it could be that things are getting confused because of the movie Clueless.
Maybe, right? Because that seems so
You know?
harmful. Or harmless
It's so
rather.
harmless,
Uh-huh.
harmless, a fun '90s flick. When it's on TV, I even like to watch it now. It's talking about a teenager in high school from Hollywood, and she's wealthy, so she has, like, her dad's money and her convertible, and she just is, like, I guess, unaware and kind of in her own world, and that feels more benign, that portrayal of Clueless.
Exactly. It's actually
So
based on the, Jane Austen book,
really? I didn't
Emma.
know that.
Uh-huh,
That's
it's
so
the
fun to
same
know that.
plot. It's like a modern remake of it, a really fun one. But yeah, that it's true, like, when you would call this girl clueless, it at first you're thinking, "Oh, that doesn't seem so mean," but, like, really, even then, if someone were to say this to her face, she would probably be, like, hurt.
Yeah.
She'd be like, "Oh, I didn't mean to hurt anyone."
That's true, and I think that actually happened in the movie. That's exactly what it was, like, I
Yeah,
think, Josh, her older brother or, brother
totally.
or something, said, you don't get this stuff," or something like that,
Mhm.
and she was hurt, and she
Yeah,
became self-aware, and she said, "I wanna understand these things." So,
exactly.
yeah, definitely could do some damage there.
Yes. So we want to share better options. So stick to the end. We're going to share what you should say instead to make sure to not hurt the connection, to not hurt someone's feelings. But first, let's share some examples to try and sort of clarify
Okay.
what exactly this does, what this implies if you call someone clueless or ignorant.
Okay, so for example, here's a sample sentence. She's clueless about current events. So this implies what, Aubrey?
Yeah, there's definitely implied criticism here, right?
Yeah.
It means she should know about current events, but she's not trying to be informed.
Yeah. I think part of the problem with clueless is that it's such a the word it's so extreme. To be
Yes.
clueless means you know nothing, right? It's
You know
you have
nothing.
no clues at all.
Exactly, and we say that too, she has no clue, but both
Yes.
are they imply judgment, they imply criticism, they're not kind.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you say that about yourself, fine. Maybe we'll talk
That's
about that
different,
later in
for
the
sure.
episode, but yeah. Yeah. What
Exactly, or
else?
you might say they're clueless when it comes to restaurant etiquette. This is maybe
Mm.
something I would say about my children. If I'm, like, apologizing, they're, like, screaming in a restaurant, say, "Sorry, my kids are kinda clueless about restaurant etiquette."
Oh, geez. That's okay too, right?
It
They're
happens,
your
yeah,
kids and you're just saying something about your family, so it's okay to say it
right.
yourself. Yeah.
And even then, maybe if I said that or if my kids heard it, they might kinda be like, "Rude."
Yeah. Right,
There
like,
are
if
nicer ways to say that, mom.
yeah, like, if they're trying to learn, maybe they've become aware that they should order with the word "please" or something, they're trying to learn, and then
Totally.
you go and say that, maybe you
If
would
they're
hurt them.
clueless. Yeah,
Yeah.
and really that's a criticism on myself, because what I'm really saying is I have not
Yes.
properly taught my
Correct.
children to
Correct.
be behaved.
Correct. And then the second one is ignorant, which is almost worse or just as bad, I
Yes, so
think.
you might say, "My
Mhm.
friend was ignorant of the fact that you can't park here." It's not the nicest way to say it, right? There's definitely implied criticism, implied judgment that she should or he should have known and was ignorant of it, just didn't care, wasn't paying attention.
Yes, interesting. And then she's ignorant about homelessness. So maybe she hasn't taken the time to try to understand the scenario, what the causes are, how multifaceted the issue is,
Right,
right?
and the thing about ignorant is it's not a direct synonym for unaware. Like, it also can mean uneducated or unsophisticated, and for that
Right.
reason, it has this other sort of connotation, this implication. So, we wanna be careful to not call someone ignorant if we don't mean to imply those things.
Yeah. And just as an asterisk, it's interesting because in the world of meditation, which I study Buddhism, I study meditation,
Mhm.
and this is not what our listeners necessarily need to know, but it's fun to note this. Ignorance is used in a totally different way.
Oh,
It's not
interesting.
about intellectual knowledge, it's about confusion as to what leads to happiness in life. Like
Ah.
if you think that making a ton of money and buying fancy furniture is going to lead to happiness, that's a form of ignorance. Right, and that's so in a
Mm.
spiritual sense, that's what that means, but you're not gonna hear that, guys, unless you're going to, like, uh, uh, events like I am. You're not gonna
Mhm.
hear it in that way.
But you will see that in the dictionary, right? Under ignorance,
Yeah,
it says, uneducated, unsophisticated. And so, whether you're talking about meditation, being aware of what leads to happiness, or other education levels, yeah, ignorant
yeah.
implies a lack of sophistication.
Yeah, and I think maybe just the broad piece is confusion, I guess,
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
way,
that
just
makes sense.
confusion. Ignorance is kind of confusion, spiritually confused or just
Mhm.
knowledge,
Right.
actual things you know. So
Well, I
anyways,
love that you mentioned that we could say this about ourselves, right? There are
mhm,
times when it is okay to say this. If you, say, I'm pretty clueless when it comes to decorating. Can you
yes,
take care of that if you're planning a party, right?
yeah.
It doesn't have the same level of criticism or cruelty if you're saying it about yourself. You're just sort of admitting a fault.
Oh, totally. I think that is we can endorse that 100%. Sometimes it's good to admit a fault, and we've talked about that in another episode, Aubrey, haven't we?
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It creates connection when you're able to admit that you're not perfect in every way.
Right. What else? What are some other ways it might be okay?
Yeah, we also will hear this if you actually do intend a critical judgment. So maybe, for example, you're talking about a politician, a reporter, a teacher, someone who makes a comment on social media. And what you really do mean to intend is that you are making this critical judgment of their action. Maybe not something you would say to someone's face. So, for
Right.
example, you might say, "Did you hear the debate last night? I can't believe how clueless these politicians are." And you are intending to make this critical judgment of, like, these politicians don't know enough about the things they should be experts on.
Right. Completely. And this is used more often when we don't know, like we're far away from the thing that we're talking about, right?
Right? It's
Maybe
not
we
a
don't
friend,
understand.
it's not a
Yeah.
family member. This is, yes, exactly, a very
Yeah.
different relationship or no
Mhm. Mhm.
relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And often it's just a matter of not understanding kind of their priorities or kind of their lives, right? Because we just sort of objectify people on the other side. Or we're so divided now politically, and we just kind of think we make assumptions about the other side and we call them clueless, but maybe they've got all the clues. They just have different priorities or
Right, we're just
values or
saying that because we
something.
don't agree with them.
Yes,
That's very
exactly.
possible.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Right.
might say for ignorant, you might say, "Oh, comments on social media are often really ignorant." And what you mean by
Mhm.
this is uninformed, right? Or maybe
Mhm.
unsophisticated if
Right.
someone's being cruel or crude, possibly. And so this, like you said, there's a level of remove here, right? This is
Yes.
someone you probably don't personally know, and you're having a conversation and just wanting to share that, like, I am judging this. I am criticizing these comments that I didn't agree with and I felt were inappropriate.
They were inappropriate, right? Yeah,
Inappropriate. Yep.
they were inappropriate. Oh, by the way, we do know which episode that was that our listeners can go to, where we talked about how to share your faults in English for deeper connection. What was that episode number?
Yes, it was 2125, How to Share Your Faults in English for Deep. This really was a fantastic episode. It was
Mhm,
small phrases like adding a bit to
mhm,
soften when you're sharing your faults. This
mhm.
is such a great connection skill to we're tempted to put our best foot forward and make it seem like our lives are perfect, but really when you start to deepen connections, you let that go and you admit that everyone makes mistakes.
Yes, that's so true. 100%. Guys, if you love this show, make sure you hit follow on All Ears English so you get our 4 and soon to be 5 episodes a week. Actually, by the time this comes out, I believe we will already be releasing 5 episodes a week, Aubrey. So,
So
super
exciting.
exciting that our
Yeah.
listeners could listen 5 times a week. So, hit follow on the show. Do we have any other options, Aubrey, that might be good to say?
Yes. We
Mhm.
want to share some better options. The first one is just uninformed about. So instead of saying someone's clueless or ignorant, if you just say, like, she's uninformed about current events or she's uninformed about homelessness, it has the same meaning of saying she doesn't know about it. She doesn't have all the information with less implied judgment and criticism.
Yeah, I like that one, and I also like unaware of something. So, for
Yes.
example, my friend was unaware that you can't park here. She was unaware that she hurt his feelings. Y
Exactly, right? This doesn't have that implied criticism of she should be aware.
yes.
It's much more, forgiving to be like, "She's just
Mhm.
unaware." Like, don't blame her, she's just unaware that she
Right.
should have done that.
It also feels a little bit more elevated if someone says, "Oh, you shouldn't have done this. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was unaware that this was a problem. I was unaware
Absolutely.
this wasn't allowed." Right?
Exactly, and then the same meaning, but not quite as elevated, just to
Mhm.
say that you don't know or you didn't know about something, right? I could say about my children, they don't know about restaurant etiquette, but this unaware does feel more elevated. They're unaware of restaurant etiquette.
So there you go. You guys have 3 great options for how to talk about this when someone doesn't quite know things, right? And we can't know everything. We learn as we go through life, right, Aubrey?
Exactly, but we don't wanna always imply that we think they should know, that we
Mhm.
imply this
Yeah.
judgment. Sometimes, just to be more kind and more forgiving, we wanna give people a little grace and say, "They're just unaware."
I love that idea. Okay, Aubrey, let's get into a role play for our listeners. So here we are chatting about a politician. Ooh, okay. Here we go.
Nice.
She seems pretty clueless to me.
I agree. I feel like she's ignorant about the real cause of these issues.
It's possible she's just uninformed, but if she's going to run for office, she needs to be in the know.
Exactly. Someone in that office can't be unaware of what's going on in the world.
That's true, right? Yeah, we have
Mhm.
high expectations for our politicians because it's important, the job, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We're like, we need someone who is level headed, who is
Yeah,
well
yeah,
informed about all of these things. And I chose a politician here because this way we can use clueless and
right.
ignorant, something that we wouldn't say
Smart.
necessarily about a friend or a family member.
Exactly.
But someone we're further removed from, yeah, maybe.
I love that. Good point there, Aubrey. Okay, so first I said she seems pretty clueless, right? So that's
And
my
this is
opinion.
sort of a
Yeah.
general statement. Maybe this is after a debate or someone's
Mhm.
really not doing a great job. They've flubbed a
Yeah.
bunch of answers. So we're
Clu
chatting, we're like, "Oh, she seems kind of clueless," especially maybe
Right.
about a specific issue.
Yeah, something we've already been like you said, watching a debate or talking about this person, so we're coming in halfway through a conversation here. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I said, "Yeah, I feel like she's ignorant about the real cause of these issues." And that yeah,
Mhm.
if for homelessness, for example,
Yeah.
if a politician were to on a platform say, "Well, this is just because, these people chose to not get educated and they're choosing to not have a home," then this is something you might say like, "Ooh, I feel like there's some ignorance about the real
Mhm.
problem."
Yeah, for sure. And then I said, it's possible she's just uninformed. But if she's going to run for office, she needs to be in the know. Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is great. Uninformed instead of saying clueless or ignorant, you're giving her some grace here. You're letting her know, like, okay, she just doesn't have all the facts. She doesn't
Yeah.
know everything she needs to know, but I feel like at her position, she needs to. She needs to be informed.
Mhm. Yeah. And then what did you say? You
I
said
said
exactly.
someone in that office can't be unaware of what's going on in the world. And this I do feel like is the most elevated sounding, gives someone the most grace to say, I feel like they're just unaware of all of the facts, unaware of all the details.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a very realistic conversation. that, I mean, we're going into an election year here, so these conversations are absolutely going to be happening. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We actually get a lot of questions from students like, "Talk about politics, share all of this." And
I
sometimes it's
know.
tough to have a whole episode about politics, but every now and then we can have a role play where it's a conversation you might have when discussing
Right.
politics with a friend.
Right, so take note, guys. These could be tools to discuss politics, right?
Absolutely.
We're gonna avoid sharing our direct political opinions as much as possible on the show, but that's really what you are looking for is the tools to share your opinions, right? And
Exactly.
this is it right here. So what's the takeaway, Aubrey?
Yeah, well, I think, there is a risk of harming a connection if you use these words clueless or ignorant without realizing that there can be this negative connotation. So I
Yeah.
think I'm so glad that we can highlight this in case anybody out there listening maybe is using those words to describe friends or family without realizing that it can sound very cruel and critical and judgmental.
Yeah, I'm so glad that this came out of a live conversation with a
Yeah,
student, and now everyone gets to benefit from this insight. So good. Keep in mind, guys, it's always about connection. So you should always, even at a very high level of English, you always want to be looking to tweak your English to make sure we're not causing harm and that we're spreading good vibes.
absolutely. Yes, I agree.
All right, good stuff. All right, Aubrey, you have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thanks, Lindsay. Bye.
Bye.